Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line 10, speak with the PC member serving the folks of Mount Pearl North, Steve Kent. Hi, Steve. You're on the air.
Good afternoon, Paddy. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. How about you?
Not bad, thanks. It's been a while since we chatted, and there's been lots of renewed discussion in recent weeks on Muskrat Falls, so I thought it was time to weigh in again. Some interesting developments in recent weeks. The Premier has given a couple of great speeches, both to the Board and Trade and the municipalities, Newfoundland and Labrador. Just today, I've seen through the Twitterverse that there's a new website launched. I believe in the power of NL.ca, where a group of people have gotten together to express their support for Muskrat Falls. So thought it would be an opportune time to call and have a chat about some of the issues related to Quebec, the alternatives, and, of course, the upcoming debate.
Well, I mean, the quality of the Premier's speech or the pro-Muskrat Falls business group, none of which have anything to do with the merits of the project, really. And that's really the concern of everyone, I would hope. And now we do know that some people are caught up in an emotional groundswell, and some of it, they're caught up in lunacy. But you know, none of that makes anybody know anymore or feel any better about Muskrat Falls. So you start wherever you like, and then I'll hop in when I see fit.
All right, fair enough. Well, to respond to that point, first of all, when I look at this group that I guess launched today, I see business represented, I see the environmental sector represented, I see healthcare represented, I see students represented. So it's a pretty broad cross section of the community, and I hope as that unfolds, they'll certainly have lots to say about the merits of the project. In terms of the Premier's comments, I think she did in fact focus on the merits of the project, and I know there's been lots of discussion and media attention paid to the Quebec issue. Well, let's talk about that for a moment. I mean, with the development of Muskrat Falls, we really will be taking control of our own destiny. We all know what happened with the Upper Churchill, and I think the Premier's message is loud and clear that that's not going to happen again. And
yeah, but the whole Quebec stranglehold piece, though, Steve, what about a constitutional stranglehold? Like, what does Quebec do? What cards do they hold that would justify us identifying them as even any of the reason for Muskrat Falls? Give me just something.
Well, couple of things. I guess the partnership with Emera and the construction of the Maritime Link actually means that we're finally going to have a transmission route to sell power for profit that is surplus to our needs, and no longer is Hydro-Quebec going to be able to hamper that activity. And with Muskrat Falls and the Maritime Link, we're actually going to be able to secure a competitive price for our power compared to what really has been a mere pittance that we would have received from Hydro-Quebec under past proposals.
Secure a competitive price from who? What are you talking about?
From the other markets.
But a competitive price, Steve, I mean, the price we're going to get for the sale of power, let's say, for instance, the clearing market in New England, competitive price, I mean, sure, what difference does that make? Because that is not, we're not talking about Muskrat Falls as a profit-making piece of infrastructure, certainly not in the short term. So where does that make a ratepayer in Newfoundland and Labrador feel any better about Hydro-Quebec's involvement or lack thereof? I mean, the sale of the power down there, that's only good for the government coffers and Nalcor. That's no good to the ratepayer because you're not putting it back in to lessen my burden.
But it's more revenue for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador and for the taxpayers of Newfoundland and Labrador. And beyond that, in terms of the Quebec issue, we are willing to work with Hydro-Quebec on Gull Island, just like we're working with Emera today. And like we're doing with Emera, any deal with Quebec needs to benefit our province first. The reality today, though, Paddy, is that Hydro-Quebec is able to hamper the activity that we're doing to develop our energy resources.
How so? They'd sell you power? They'd sell you power, no problem.
They will sell us power, but today we don't have other alternatives. The construction of the Maritime Link finally means that we're going to have a transmission route to sell power without Hydro-Quebec being able to hamper that activity. Now, that said...
But what's one got to do with the other, though? Seriously, though, Steve, the Quebec issue, I understand some of the issues surrounding Quebec and the geographical relation being, first and foremost, the boogeyman be damned. But Hydro-Quebec would sell mining, industrial development in Labrador power, no question. They would sell it to them, no sweat. So if that's true, then where's the Quebec issue regarding Labrador development? What stranglehold do they have and what control would they have?
it gives us options, Paddy. It gives us the ability to negotiate, and it gives us the ability to negotiate, hopefully, a much better deal in the future with Hydro-Quebec on Gull Island. I mean, any work we do with Quebec in the future first, and simply handing resources of this province over to Quebec and being at their mercy in terms of the sale and the access to markets in terms of our power, those days are behind us.
Yeah, but that's that nationalistic rhetoric that has nothing to do with nothing so far as the burden of the ratepayer goes. Now, I believe there are some things that you can point to that are examples of how that can indeed benefit a ratepayer and development in Labrador. None of it's been offered by you this afternoon, nor the government so far. So the nationalistic jingo stuff, I don't know where that gets us. No one cares about that. I want to know how that helps me as a ratepayer, and currently nobody has offered that answer, as opposed to Shag Quebec. Shag Quebec's all fine and dandy, but what does that do for me? That's really what I think the government needs to address.
This is not just about nationalistic statements, Paddy. I mean, developing Muskrat Falls and later Gull Island is going to position this province to be an energy powerhouse. And that's going to make a real difference in the energy industry in 2041 when the Upper Churchill comes back as well. And discussions with Quebec will be ongoing. I mean, as a company, as companies export energy into the U.S. like Hydro-Quebec does, Hydro-Quebec is required to pay fair and reasonable access to its transmission lines. That is true. And they have capacity on their lines, and we're certainly willing to pay our fair share for it. And Nalcor is continuing to have discussions with Hydro-Quebec to obtain transmission availability and to integrate that into our system.
From where to where? Access from where to where?
Into those markets into the U.S.
We've already secured a partner for that, right?
But there's still a role for Hydro-Quebec to.
And the clearing,
they have transmission.
The clearing market doesn't matter if it's power from Hydro-Quebec, Nalcor, Pennsylvania Coal, or anything else. It has nothing to do with it. The consumer down there in the clearing market bids on power all day long. The highest price is taken, regardless of who it does, and then everyone gets that same price retro. So it doesn't matter if Hydro-Quebec is involved with Nalcor and any other energy producer here or there. The price is accepted, and when it is, everyone retro gets it. So it's not an undercut opportunity. Consumers gauge and judge and will, at the end of the day, determine how much the cost is on the clearing market.
My point, Paddy, is that Nalcor is continuing discussions to obtain transmission via the Hydro-Quebec transmission system for the Lower Churchill project.
Yeah.
There's going to be a hearing in Quebec in January of 2013, and Nalcor is actually assessing all options to advance market access for Gull Island. So all of that work is ongoing. My point is, this is not just about a nationalism discussion. We are going to continue to talk to Quebec and work with Quebec, but the reality is that Muskrat Falls opens up avenues to us in terms of marketing our energy and North American grid, options that aren't available to us today.
Yeah, the connectivity is its own issue. It's of course, everything has some relation to the other power generation opportunities, whether that be the Upper Churchill or whatnot. But the connectivity to the mainland, in my opinion, can only be sold to the ratepayer as to our benefit as ratepayers, and the ability to bring power in as well as develop gas and wind or whatever, and use that connectivity to get power out if and when we can hopefully justify the use of all the power of Muskrat for Labrador industrial or residential use here, along with all our other generation opportunities. So anyway, other Quebec State, what else you got?
Ratepayers. Well, there is a benefit to ratepayers. I mean, the benefits of this clean, renewable hydropower are being seen already in other jurisdictions in Canada that have hydropower. We see low, stable electricity rates in British Columbia, Manitoba, Quebec, and Newfoundland is fourth today. Newfoundland and Labrador is fourth today. And the beauty of this project, the beauty of investing in clean, renewable hydropower is that we'll see that same kind of rate stability that BC and Manitoba and Quebec enjoys today. And that is a real benefit to ratepayers in Newfoundland and Labrador. And this is an asset that's going to give back to us, the taxpayers in Newfoundland and Labrador, for over a century.
Other than the Quebec piece, anything else in particular, Steve? On the Muskrat Falls conversation? Well, I have a question for you. Now that everybody is really concerned with the protections being offered by the Muskrat Falls proposal, why not, to the benefit of the ratepayer and the what would be the perception of protection is put it back in front of the PUB. When all the final numbers are in, when there's a legitimate comparison to be made between the cost of the alternatives to Muskrat Falls, why not put it back in front of the Public Utilities Board for once and for all, and so that we can have a so-called independent board make a determination?
There are multiple players who have a role to play in this debate, and the PUB is one of them. And the PUB has had lots of opportunity to contribute to the discussion. And
why not put it back in, Steve? Seriously, when we get the final numbers and the assessment of the evaluation of the alternatives, at that point, why not put it back into the PUB for their review? Forget what's gone on in the past; it's irrelevant. What happens when the final numbers are out? Why not go to the PUB?
Because I think we're past that point, Paddy. I mean, we're ready to have a full and open public debate on this issue. We've had input from the PUB, we've had input from Navigant, we've had input from MHI. We're going to have more, and now it's time, as soon as possible, as soon as all the pieces are in place, to make all of the information that's going to be available, make it public. Anything that hasn't been available to date because it's not ready for release. And then let's have a full and open debate in the House of Assembly. To me, that's the next logical step in this process.
I appreciate your call today. I think that the government would do themselves a great favor by bringing back in some PUB involvement here, not for my benefit, but for the masses who are calling for it. So far as the politics of it go, I think there's a dangerous game being played here. Those who are opposed to the project, some of them have no merit to their argument so far as the business model goes, but the overwhelming consensus is that those who are on the fence and or nervous or opposed want it back in front of the PUB. Now, if it's about time or whatever the other rational offerings are, that's one thing, but boy, it would sure bring down the temperature of the conversation if it went back in there.
Well, I think it's a bit of a red herring. I mean, the PUB has had access to all the information. They've had lots of time, and Nalcor and government have also completed a comprehensive review of all the alternatives. All the work that MHI is doing will be made public. There's going to be additional reports available, and we're going to have a fully open and transparent and informed debate. And I think that's the next logical step in this process.
Steve, I appreciate the call. Let's hope the debate is top quality and people actually get some answers to the questions. The questions are legit. Some of the ones that we've heard floated around, I've dismissed them, you've heard me, but I think a lot of the questions that remain, people just need to know why, because it's their money. And that's everyone's number one concern.
I appreciate the opportunity to have a real good discussion about it, and the fact that you're open to challenging the views of those that call you and make statements. And even in the last few minutes, we've had a pretty good discussion on what are definitely some issues that are important that people should weigh into and should have an opinion about, and people need to get informed.
Thanks for your call today, Steve. All the best.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye. Steve Kent, elected and serving the folks of Mount Pearl North.